was born in the Northern California.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself with your name, city, state, and team, and your years racing?
Sure. Yeah. Mike Charleton. I'm currently in Santa Rosa. I've been here about 24 years, currently with Red Peloton. Been racing with them just a little after I got to town and reintroduced myself back into racing about 2002 or three. So 30, I think this will be my 34th season of racing. Did a 12-year stint of juniors and Pro 1-2. Took a little time off when my kids were born and very young, and then jumped back in when I was Masters 35. So my last stint, like I said, been going about 22, 23 years recently.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was the first year then that you would have gotten into racing?
So it's funny. A lot of people ask me, well, when did you start racing or when did you start riding a bike? Because so many people have come to the sport later, and I just never stopped. I grew up in Huntington Beach, so on my days after school, I'd hop on the 10-speed bike and head down to the beach and start riding. So I started in Huntington Beach, probably my junior year. High school was my first year racing, so about 86, right in there.
Oh wow, awesome.
And yeah, so just never stopped riding as a kid. Always found it thrilling, and then was lucky enough to find a mentor that got me into racing and connected with a great club, Paramount Cycling down in Orange County, and had some really great mentors and coaches and folks that were senior in the club that supported me in racing.
Yeah, that is so awesome. I fell into a mentor myself, and a little bit before you actually, but
Right on.
Such a game changer. So who was like one of those mentors, and how'd you come across them?
I probably need to give you two. A big shout out to Joe Carroll, who I'm still great friends with, who's in Southern California right now. And so met him on the bike path, but we did go to the same school. He was a year ahead of me, and so he introduced me to Paramount Cycling and got to my first open. Then it was open categories before you had a USCF license. So he helped me cut my teeth at my first races. And then there were a number of people within Paramount Cycling Club, but I'd say the club president when I was there, Glenn Baldwin, was just integral at getting me to some races, getting me support to some big races, to early nationals and just big races around California when I was still just getting started and figuring it all out. So those people were critical.
What I mean, how did you find your first club or team that you rode with?
I remember coming back from a couple of group rides that our club would get together and then go on some other big kind of all club rides. And as a junior at 15, 16, that I thought I was going fast, we got out there and just single pace line, just screaming through some of these roads and canyons, and coming home thinking, oh my God, did I go fast today? This is as hard as I've had to pedal on a bike ride. So those early days were thrilling. Nothing that caused me to get out of the sport or be discouraged. So just kept at it.
And then finally glommed onto decided one of the teams was the right one for you, or?
Yeah, because Joe was involved with the club, and then I just got great support from club members, from the folks who were in charge of budget, and then also my family, of course. At 15, 16, before I was really driving, getting to me to local races, and just had super great support from my parents and family to sacrifice their time to get me to these events all around the Southern California area.
Yeah, very cool. I'm curious, just to step back a few years before that, but what was your first memory of a bicycle?
I remember writing about it during writing assignments about what the feeling was like of freedom, and to just, have that radius of what you're exposed to expand and seeing new things. And oh my gosh, for a bowl of oatmeal, I can be, an hour and a half away from what I'm used to in my own little home area. So that, I think, just the freedom of it, the exhilaration of the wind in the hair, and the freedom to go anywhere, and the excitement of being in a group, That's probably before the racing, just the enjoyment, the pleasure of, it's still fun to see in kids' faces today. They're learning for the first time, just their faces light up. I'm
Yeah.
doing this under my own power and I'm free to go anywhere. So I still have that sensation today of just under my own power, getting me, all over the place.
That's awesome. I love it. So then what was the thing or stream of series of events that led you into being like, oh, I want to be more competitive with this? And
yeah, I would say it's probably not something that I was seeking out. It was something that the club was really involved with. So it was folks in the club and again, Joe, who had some experience getting to races, that encouraged me to do it. I had, through Joe, another connection that was a very well-established rider, last name of Gordon, more on the track. And they owned a little bike shop in town. And so got to see one of his big downtown twilight races. And that was just as thrilling as heck. So I had to check it out, had to see what it was all about and see for myself. And then when I jumped in, that was it. Got to have some of this.
so when you first joined the club, it was more, or you were just kind of more, just fun riding and tour, little tours or group.
Yeah, get
rides.
to know people of the same interest. And so I was very learning. I know I'd love to ride. I knew I loved the feeling, the sensation. I loved to be out there either by myself or with little groups. I know I had a competitive nature. I had an athletic background. I'd been surfing since I was young, a lot of baseball when I was young. So I had the discipline, the cardiovascular. So it wasn't too difficult to do some of those longer rides. Not like folks that are coming into it late in life with no athletic background. Obviously, the training at a level of super competitive and being successful racing, that took time and energy, of course. But I had that athletic background as a kid that I transferred then right into the bike, which made it a little easier.
So what was your first feeling of success in a race?
Oh, I think it was probably West Covina or something near Long Beach, where I, finished right up towards the front, or I won a race in West Covina, I think. Very beginner, open before juniors, before Cat 5, but still nonetheless, being out there and coming across the line, just going fast and being a part of it, being able to hang with the front guys, that then just fed on itself and had to have more. So an early win in the junior open category didn't hurt with the motivation and the push to keep me going.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is your another favorite, like going the whole span of your career? Like, what's a favorite race?
Oh, there's a long list. One of the things that I really love about this sport, if you get if you have the desire to compete at a national level, is just traveling, or even a local level, and traveling to cities and meeting people and seeing places that there's no way I would have seen otherwise. So I'd say right at the top of the list, a couple stand out. Redland stage race as a P1-2 was absolutely thrilling to complete with world-class athletes, and to actually place fairly well in the criterium was a thrill. So a big stage race like that's international is great. And then right up at the top, I'd have to say would be Super Week. I went out to Super Week in preparation for nationals in New York a long time ago. And that day after day after day criterium racing, that is my cup of tea. I'm a crit guy. So to be able to just do it night after night after night, and to watch the fitness build, and again, to be with guys that were top notch, European racers that might have not made first cut to do some of the big tours over there, came over and did Super Week. So you could hear the international language in the peloton, and just every night going as fast and as hard as we possibly could. Otherwise, there's some other stage races that I went to, Colorado and Oregon, even some racing down in Texas that are that stand out as my mind as top. But anywhere I can go where I'm meeting people and traveling and sharing the experience with others that have the same passion, for me is, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I never got to do Super Week, but hopefully just to get I'm back on track with racing in general this year. Be a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
good. Well, the one that I still haven't checked off that stars might line up to get to this year is Tour of America's Dairyland. So similar area out there and similar day after day racing. So after a long hiatus of racing in that area day after day, it might come to fruition this year with nationals being out in that area.
Now, has that replaced Super Week? Because Super Week's never longer around, right?
I don't think it's around anymore. So and
I
I'm
remember that
a
was
little
around when I was racing, but
yes, and I
never
don't
made
think
it.
there's a direct switch over, but it's the similar style where it's non-cumulative time, like a stage
Mhm.
race. So it doesn't matter if you make time cuts.
Okay.
You start again fresh the next day,
Oh,
which is
cool.
very appealing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely super fun.
Mhm.
What was the hardest race? What's like one of the hardest experiences you've had racing?
Boy, Redlands really does stick out to make the time cut in those couple of road races. Barely by the skin of my teeth, I made it. So that's probably one of the toughest. And then just some P12 road races in California. Did some races in the rain that were super tough. But it's that day after. The two things that are tough for me are the climbing. I learned that early on that's just a difficult for me. So I haven't really, in my later years of racing here, haven't taken full grasp of road racing, long hilly road racing. I love a circuit race or a flatter road race that I love to do, but the climbing stuff for me was some of the difficult to make time cuts and to be able to come back the next day. So anything with a lot of climbing, or some of the big criteriums. The USA Crit Series did a number of races in San Rafael, in Colorado, in Idaho. Those races when you get top caliber guys out that, the P12 field, I could just remember, okay, this lap, I'm going to try to move up a couple spots. And I either can't or I move up one spot.
Okay.
So, those races that it's just so fast and single file from start to finish. It's thrilling and exciting. And, I might not know that I'm going to win, but to be there with those guys and go that fast. And if somebody makes a mistake, then I'm going to take that spot.
Yeah.
And so I'm still probably maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 races a year. I'll be able to jump into some P12 races and not in contention to win the thing, but maybe I can help out a teammate and still have the thrill of being in the top category and going super hard, super fast for a while.
Yeah. What do you think your biggest strength is as a rider?
As some teammates like to say, I'm a one-trick pony. I'm a crit guy. So my strength is either positioning, getting to those last few laps where it's critical that you be towards the front. So I'm pretty good at reading a group and finding those little opportunities to move up a spot or two. And then my sprint generally, can deliver depending on who I'm with and who my competition is in any particular race. That shorter sprint, if it's a course where I'm coming out of a last turn with 150 yards to go, you better bring your A game because I'm going to be in most cases right there.
Yeah.
All my state championship races were flat crit short field sprints after a last turn.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. Is there a special, like, was there something about your background that came easily, or more the sprinting and the skills for crit riding, or was that or are there specific things that you've learned to really bring those skills out more?
Well, I think a few things, Kurt, when you ask that, I think of one, just growing up in Southern California, because it was crit country, not a lot of long road races. It's so urban and built up. We did a few. I won the longest junior road race down there, 72 miles, but that was a rarity. It was usually crit racing. And then number two, going to school in Davis, my formative college competing years, mostly flat. So it seemed like on every training ride we did, we'd come back into town and, those last couple miles was just, on the gas and practicing that group sprint. But going into it in the early days, I go back to my surfing and my, my physical activity in other sports. So that surfing was a lot of sprinting, a lot of sitting around, but then a lot of all-out effort to catch waves or to get out before those waves broke. So I think in a just naturally, physiologically, slow twitch, fast twitch, I'm just not a, endurance kind of guy. These guys that can go 200 miles and have a great time, I get to hour 4 and I'm ready to be I'm ready to be done.
Right.
The matches are smoking out to nothing. So I think a little bit of a just natural physiology. I'm geared towards sprinting, but then I've honed my strength too. So a lot of crits each year. I'm in the weight room in the winter time, and then our training rides out here. Boy, if we're coming up to a city limit sign on any training ride, you better believe we're going to get on the gas.
Yeah. That's super awesome. Yeah, and it's interesting about the surfing. I had a similar cross training thing. I played a lot of soccer right before I pivoted to full into cycling, and I just really felt. And I worked as a referee, sprinting up the field. Constant jog, sprint, jog, sprint for 4 or 5 hours.
Interval training, right?
Yeah.
Interval training.
I think I definitely credit that to me getting a good jump start when I did get into racing in high school.
Those situations in my early days, I'm trying to replicate now. Like you said, we had very strong mentors that kept us into the sport, and I just think that's critical for folks that have experience like you and I to look for opportunities to foster folks staying. So we could talk about the under 23 program that I'm working with now at some point.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I just think it's critical to give back, what we had in the early days. Otherwise, folks come into the sport and something discouraging happens, or they're, left behind in a training ride, or they get injured or get hurt, or are on a program that's training too hard and not having fun, and they disappear and leave the sport. So I'm really working to try to have folks not have that experience, just the opposite. Be welcomed on training rides and have some guidance in races, and make sure the training is appropriate for where they're at, so that they can continue that joy that they feel when they came to the bike in the first place.
Yeah, that's huge. And I was in Muay Thai before I got back into racing, and then our gym was huge on that. That I don't care how great a fighter you are, you're gonna train with the newbies, and I see that in you a lot out on the road, and that it's huge. I had Craig Farrell and St. Louis Cycling Club. I did my first race and dead last, and he came up to me and said, "Hey, you want to do this? I got a ride every day after 3:30. I had to get out of school and race across town to get there, but that guy changed my life." And so that type of thing is great. So how do you are you doing that through the Red Peloton's program with you?
So a number of years ago, we got together as a club and just really put together a charter and refreshed our mission statement and what we're about. And one component we've always been, since the beginning and the creation of the club, the initial founders of the club, there's always been a philanthropic part, which I haven't experienced in other clubs. So it's really, really super neat to be supporting cycling in all its facets, especially racing, but then also have a component where we give back to the community in multiple ways. So as we redid our charter, our mission, a part of that was youth racing. And we identified a gap that we have some great junior programs in Santa Rosa right now. But if those folks, the stronger juniors, if they have an intention of continuing on, but don't have a ride with a bigger team to take that next step up, many of those juniors fall out of the sport. So we were looking to fill a gap of either taking these young athletes and just helping them stay in the sport by supporting them to continue to get to races, or for those who wanted to do more, provide them with some coaching and some funding and ability to get to some big races. So some help with all the gear. It's become an extremely expensive sport with all the bike equipment that you need. It can be limiting. So we wanted to help with that as well. And we've been hugely successful in the short time we've been doing it. We've had 5-6 riders that have been picked up by bigger teams, Mike's Bikes, Rio Grande, Valair. So it's just really neat to see these athletes that, they might have fallen out of the sport or not reached their potential, that we played a role in raising them up, continuing them along, and then sort of flying the coop. I see it. You flying the nest, spreading their wings and being taken on by a bigger team so they can do more things. So that's just super fulfilling to me, to be able to pass on not only my race experience and how to do this, but then in a bigger picture, support them with coaching and financial assistance to get to races.
Yeah, it's so cool that the team does that, and there's actually so many great things going on in the Northern California the North Bay bike scene.
Yes.
Can you talk about that both with Red Peloton and kind of beyond, how you see the community?
Sure. I've really been impressed with what high school mountain biking has done in the last 10 years or so. The number of high school kids that are involved in mountain bike riding and racing is really impressive. I had nothing like that growing up. I started a small little bike club at my high school, and we had a handful of us that went out and did some rides. So to see, hundreds of kids from different schools getting together and competing, I think is just fantastic. So Team Swift in town here, Team CSIP Devout, a couple junior teams in Santa Rosa that are getting great support. These training rides that we go on and weekend races where you see these junior kids from the North Bay and all over the Bay Area. It's just really exciting to see. If we don't, who are going to be our next superstars? Who are going to be our folks that are representing the U.S. in big events and over in Europe? So it's fun to play a very tiny role in that, and to be recognized in the Bay Area as playing a role with the under 23 group is just super duper fulfilling. So I'm impressed with what there's room to grow for sure, but where junior racing and under 23 racing has come in the Bay Area is encouraging. It's encouraging.
Super cool. What let's talk about the racing scene here. We've got the the TNTs and the dirt crits, but why don't you talk about what your take is on the scene and where it's going and where it could go?
Yes. Yeah. So I speak mostly to the North Bay here because that's most of my day in, day out experience. So the TNTs were started a long time ago, and they've had a bumpy road. So for your listeners that aren't familiar, it's the Tuesday night twilights that were held at initially the corporate center area of Santa Rosa. And then, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago, we moved into the fairgrounds of Sonoma County. So we probably have 10 to 12 events through the summer of Tuesday night racing. And we divide it up into 3 or 4 categories. Right now, I currently lead a mentor race or ride at the beginning of the evening at 5:30. So this is come one, come all. You need to find out what this thing is about of bike racing. We will show you how to take some turns and ride in a Peloton and sprint at the end. And so it's just an opportunity for folks to come out and see what it's all about. We market in all the bike shops. The bike shops of Santa Rosa and surrounding areas are hugely supportive. Right now, each shop takes a night or in some cases 2 nights where they'll come out and be the sponsor of the night and provide the prizes and the premiums. And this has been a critical part of the TNT success. So just a big thanks to all the bike shops in Sonoma County. And they're all participating. I can't name a shop that's not participating. So the shops want to keep this going. And it's just a great opportunity to learn, practice your skills, get stronger. It's still for me the highlight of the week. It's still for me what allows me to fine tune that speed work and bike handling to prepare for each weekend. And it just takes a lot of people to make it happen. There's mega amounts of volunteers. And that's been the difference in the last 5 years to the success of the Tuesday night twilights. We've got a great pool of folks that are pitching in one way or another. It used to be that there was maybe one promoter that tried to put on the whole event, and it's too much. It was too much. So we almost lost it a couple times when individuals were overwhelmed, and you're not making money. It's not a money making venture. We're trying to cover insurance. We're trying to cover the fairgrounds fees. So by changing it to a group approach, and eventually recently Red Peloton taking it on as our own, I'm confident that it'll continue for a long time to come.
Very
So
cool.
that's one aspect, is the
Yeah.
TNTs.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's some great training rides that give up folks opportunity midweeks. If there's no Tuesday night twilights, there are Phil Heiman's started the Two Rock Road Race
Yeah.
out in Petaluma, which
Great.
you've done a number of times, and I've seen you
Yeah.
on the podium pictures a number of times. So a great road race midweek out in Petaluma. Otherwise, Port of Oakland, San Francisco. I know there's been other midweek racing series around the Bay Area, but some of them have fallen by the wayside as well. So to still have opportunities midweek to practice riding in a group, I think is a great plus of living in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the what about you? I mean, do you think there'd ever be, has there been ever a larger scale criterium in Sonoma County, or is there an opportunity for that?
We got our eyes on trying to put together a 2-day race in Sonoma County. So stay tuned. I hope we can come up with a 2-day event here in the next year or two. But I remember coming up when I was living on the peninsula to a downtown Santa Rosa criterium. It was fantastic around Old Courthouse Square. It's a great criterium. I have a etched bottle of wine from a 3rd place finish in the P12s.
That's awesome.
And then a road race, Star Road, I think East Side Road. So, and then 2O Racing had their Rohnert Park circuit race. And let's see, before that, then Colavita as well put on a race in Novato. I think I'm getting those cities right. We've had races in Lake County for a few years, which fell by the wayside. So it takes a lot of energy. It's a risk on the money part to put on a race, but we have to do it. If we plan ahead and do things right, it can be very, very successful. So stay tuned on the Red Peloton 2-day stay race, hopefully
cool.
coming soon. Yeah.
Since you mentioned Two Rock, I did want to just touch on the recent loss of Phil Heiman. Just devastating. It was such a special race. I mean, one of the coolest things I've experienced, where Tuesday night you're just in the the beginning of the work week, and then you find yourself out in the Petaluma countryside, just jamming along with a bunch of the racers, and then those finishes on the hilltop are just gas you so bad. So
yes, great training.
Beyond that, so got to know him briefly just from Jordan Kunde turned me on to that. Actually, at the TNTs, after one of my early TNTs, he's like, "Have you met Phil? Have you heard of Two Rock?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You got to go check this out." And that's when I met Phil. And those things were just, I had so many great experiences out there. And but I really got to see after he passed what just a great guy he was. I saw you at the memorial, and so many people in and out of cycling, but just talking about what a great guy he was.
He really influenced a lot of folks. I agree with you, Kurt, that it was great to attend that night, to hear how many years he had been involved in cycling and how many people he touched. I knew from my experience at the TNTs, there's a couple things that stand out to me. I'll share just again in my limited experience with Phil, and one is at the Tuesday night, putting on the race, the Colavita race that he put on. Again, putting on a race is no small task, and he did it with the help of his teammates. So that was huge for a number of years, putting on a race up here in Sonoma County. And then at the TNTs, there's a handful of guys that come up and set up the course to make sure it's safe and everything is, all the hazards are protected from the riders. And Phil was out there, one of the first people that shows up to help set up the course safety And the last guy that's there breaking things down after being in a race and mentoring and getting a good workout, having fun, but also sharing his wisdom with other riders. So for me, his sacrifice, his contribution towards ensuring that race continued, to me, is just a huge example. Don't let me hear your excuses. If Phil can be out there setting up, breaking down, spending his evening, then you can find something to do as well. And then the other thing that I'll carry with me from Phil is he was not a young rider. He was in his senior years and still out there doing it. So I have these days at 55 years old where I wonder, are these knees going to hold out? Are these hips going to keep going? Oh
Right.
boy, these muscles are really, where'd that come from? This little ache or pain or little injury that I deal with through the season. So when I think about Phil and other riders in this community that are, 10, 15 years older than I, that are still doing it, for him to be out there racing on a Tuesday night and going to those cross races, will always be inspirational to me to throw those excuses, out the window and deal with it, overcome them, and go out there and continue on. So thank you, Phil, for all that you did for this community, for sure.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Let's see. I think, I did want to touch on the Sugarland rides too.
Sure. Yeah, we forgot about that one.
That's one other of the Phil's, and I have heard someone else is going to be carrying on with the Two Rock.
The Two Rock. That's what I heard as well. I hope so.
And then we had Rick Peppers had his Windsor Press. Is that how you?
Yes. Our little course in Windsor.
I was subjected to one of those. It was a great experience I'll never forget. But yeah, those rides are coming together, and talk about the Sugarland. That's it. Just
it takes a person to be organized and to rally the troops and to market it, to have these things come together. They don't just come together. So the Sugarland was started, I believe, by Jonathan Lee, one of the founding members of Red Peloton, way back, where we do just a few times a year. We would get together, probably when there was no TNT. We'd start at the TNT course and then head north for a little warm up up Fulton, and then cross River Road, and we get on the gas. There are a couple variations of it. So it's just great midweek practice racing, great workout, for racers that maybe hadn't been to a weekend sanctioned race, a great opportunity to give it a try as well. So Sugarland has fantastically morphed. I think I would call out Javier Sanchez and his organization and promotion of it to where it's held a couple times a month regularly. It's on the calendar. It rotates with our club ride, and it's a come one, come all. And once we get going, it is race pace. It's fantastic because we have a couple regroup points. Yes, it's race pace. Yes, we're going hard, but if you get dropped, keep a certain pace to where you can make it to the regroup spot and finish the ride. So I very much look forward to those.
Yeah. And
then our Red Peloton Club ride that I did this morning, super great workout, a little over 3 hours, that is on the calendar for every other week. And it's been a challenge in Sonoma County organizing big group rides. It's just always been an issue where we have, a Red Peloton ride, or there'd be a Boba Tour ride, or, some other team rides and groups, but getting everybody together for a Sugarland or a Two Rock ride has been a challenge. Maybe on Thanksgiving morning, there'd be a great turnout of 100 people, 80 people, and then that's it for the year. No other big rides. So to see the Thanksgiving ride continue, the Christmas tree ride, the Sugarland, again, I'm optimistic that when enough folks are determined and somebody takes charge, look what you can create. If you organize it and promote it and make it positive, it can happen.
Yeah. And I do want to mention, we are, being another member of Red Peloton, we have done a lot to improve the website, and that calendar is getting more and more updated. So hopefully that'll be a good resource that people can check out to find out about more things going on. Because those big group rides, they're really fun. I go down regularly to Southern California like you do, and I love riding in Santa Clarita. Those every Saturday, everybody converges for these great rides, and it's really nice. It makes a big difference. So it's good to see more of that happening consistently.
Yes, I can tell you just a funny story on the website this last night. I know that we rotate with Sugarland and Red Peloton ride, but still last night I had to go online and go to the calendar and look, okay, is it for sure tomorrow that I'm going to the bike shop in Windsor to start the ride? So having a platform like that is just huge. And we had a rider today that found it, I believe, through the website, a new rider that's come into town for months, but finally looked up, hey, what's going on for club rides, and joined us for over 3 hours today. So
that's awesome.
Round of applause for the great work on the website and bringing more people out for these good big group rides.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we continue to get more people out there.
Yes.
One other thing I wanted to touch on is the bike. Let's hear about let's hear about your bike.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I've since racing with Red Peloton, we've had a relationship for years and years with Specialized. So when I came over, I started racing on a Specialized bike. So I've been on the tarmac for years, ever since I've been on the club. So what a huge improvement when carbon came onto the scene. All my aluminum and steel and titanium frames went by the wayside, and it's been nothing but carbon ever since. But just the angles and the materials, it's just phenomenal racing on that bike. So we no longer have a relationship with Specialized, but it's just so comfortable to me that's I got my eye on one that I'll probably be doing my next version this upcoming season. So look for me out on the crit course, a new bike next season. As you know, I'm not don't need the latest technology, don't do a lot of computer stuff and tracking. I'm about the only one out there without a computer on my bike. But this year, you're gonna have to help me through with this, but I am gonna be making the switch to electronic shifting and through axles and
are you
and all the latest.
No more rim brakes?
I'm going to make eventually in the next couple months here, make the switch away from the rim brakes. So I've enjoyed the comments of people. Wow. Okay. Still on the old stuff, or being first one down a big descent on the old stuff. So I'm excited to try the new technology. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of reasons I'm excited about that, but I don't think when you kind of rank me as interest in technology, I'm right there at the bottom of, do I need the latest and greatest, newest stuff? No, I just want to get out there and ride my bike.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some getting used to this year with my quantum leap to new technology.
It is fun. I didn't know what to do because I actually was one of my last rides was on I've got a replica of my original racing bike from '84, and I was out on that, and I thought, oh, this is cool.
Sweet.
Until I was with the group and flying down this downhill, I was like, I kind of miss out. There's definitely something to the new bikes.
Yes, for sure. But last year I had a very successful season. I obviously want to always be doing better than I did in many of the races, but winning state championships was on rim brake with quick release axles and click shifting. So it's not all about the technology to have a good ride and have fun with it. You don't need the latest, most expensive something to get out there and just be a part of it and participate. So, and actually it's kind of fun to, see what I can do on some of the old stuff. And but with the riding in the rain, the big descents, and everybody else is on disc brakes, it's time to make the shift. I'm a little late, but it's time to make this shift over. So
well, I appreciate both sides, hanging on to the older stuff, but when there is because a lot of that stuff, it really does make a difference. I mean, that electronic shifting is just amazing.
Check back
So
with me in a
definitely.
few months and I'll give you my report, but
We
I'm
will.
looking forward.
We'll do a follow-up.
That
Well,
sounds good.
was there anything else you wanted to cover, Mike? This has been awesome. This has like been
Yeah,
really what I wanted to cover. So this is super
good.
cool. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed the chat. I would just urge anybody listening, if you have experience in the sport, to transfer that to other folks. Maybe you're just getting into it and you're just new and you're searching for those people and trying to learn. But those that are listening that have something to offer with regards to your experience and your knowledge of the sport, be it just riding or racing, transfer that. It's important for those who have the knowledge to transfer that over. I hear people get upset with the way somebody's riding in the pace line. Well, has anybody instructed them on what they should be doing?
Right.
So tactfully, in a supportive way, use your knowledge and transfer that to other folks so we can build this sport. It's just a wonderful, wonderful sport. It's been a way of life for me my entire life, since my teens and now into my mid 50s. And if everything continues well, hopefully something I can continue to do. So pass on that information and knowledge, and otherwise just get out there and ride your bike. Doesn't matter what you're on or what the weather's doing or how cruddy a day you've had. Swing your leg over the bike, and generally it makes the day better.
For sure. Amen. Well, cool. All right. Thanks so much. And I will be circling back. I still need to get some pictures from you and video. Oh, I want to try to get that video of that finish.
I don't know. I think maybe go through Cole. He's got the connection
okay.
to the raw video. Yeah, I only see the one that Tyler Mezzi put together for us.
Yeah.
Just going into the last turn. But I know I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of footage before that as well.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, real quick, why don't you give a description? Like, what was the event? Tell us what was happening there. Yeah, let's definitely hear the backstory on that one.
Sure. Well, I had won.
What was the date of that?
Sure. It was just this last 2024 seasons, and it was late in the season. I think September. So it was definitely going to be the last race of the year. And I was coming off in my mind a back-to-back state championship wins in 2014, 15, and 16, and hadn't won it since 16. So this year I aged up to the 55 to 59 category. I had a really good season, got into some big races, done a fair amount of P1-2 racing. So I felt that this is the year. It was a favorable crit course. It was going to be, if there's going to be in a year, it's going to be this one. So over in Livermore, it's where they do the early bird. That's another, we didn't even talk about that, the early bird training races. It was on that course, which I didn't have much experience with. So luckily there was a race, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks beforehand. So I got to pre-race the course before districts. And I had come close in recent years. I had some top placings. But I want to be prepared for anything. I didn't want to miss a break. I didn't want to, have a bad last couple laps. So I went in doing everything I knew what I needed to do to prepare. Every box that could be checked to be prepared and have a good race. I did it. I was all in. So as the race went through, it was fast from the start. So there were a couple opportunities where I was in a couple breaks that didn't stick. There were a couple opportunities that I got very nervous and had to work with some other folks to chase down some breaks. So as we got into the last handful of laps, I was pretty confident that this is going to come down to a big field sprint. So my teammate Rick Pepper and I had talked a couple days before of what the potential outcomes might be, the potential finishes. And so we agreed that if it came down to a field sprint, his strength wouldn't necessarily be the pack sprint. It would be more of an effort into a break, or maybe soloing with a few laps to go. So with a couple laps to go in the group, he launched, and that put everybody else, in a defensive position.
Mm-hmm.
Either A, they weren't going to respond, and he would bury himself and be able to go to the line and take the win, or they would have to respond, but it wasn't going to be me. I could sit on and relax a little bit and make sure I had legs for the finish. So he launched. they did hesitate for a little bit. He got a decent sized gap, and with about a lap to go or so, finally group had to respond. And when we caught him with a half a lap to go, someone else was trying to lead out a teammate, got on that wheel. So going into 2 turns to go, I was second wheel. And at 2 turns to go, that was 400 laps to go. So I knew at any point after 2 turns to go, it could launch and I would be ready. For me, the little shorter, the better. So at second wheel with about, I'd say 150 yards into the last turn, that was my opportunity. So launched around the rider in front of me, immediately got back into the gutter to try to protect my draft a little bit. Went super aggressive into the last turn, coming out just enough time to have a very quick last turn, and then immediately out of the saddle. And as I had visualized for weeks going into this, just every single muscle fiber firing to go to that line. So it's super great to see the pictures of everybody behind me going for it as well, and just had enough to take it to the line and hold everybody off. So it was a super duper thrill.
That's super cool. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we hit that. So
me too. It's gonna be exciting this year to show up to all the crits in the Bear jersey and on the Red Peloton jersey, and it's the one race during the year where you still get to get kudos the whole following next season. That and nationals, which is elusive to me. Still gonna work on those stars and stripes. Haven't achieved that yet, so that's still on my list to at least keep fighting for it to hopefully earn a national title at some point.
Yeah. It's just getting going. So
we'll keep at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this life drifts like waves to Lord's secret shores. Yeah, this life drifts like waves to the shore, to the shore, to the shore.